What's up, everybody? It is Red Giant right back with you to review the latest pro wrestling news and results as we conclude WrestleMania weekend with a MEGARANT Monday. It is Wrestling Rants. Yeah! Alright, it is a Mega Rant Monday, and is this a Mega Rant of Mega Rants as everything concludes with this one concluding on WrestleMania weekend with a Mega Rant both nights of WrestleMania 39. Holy shit, this show. Wow. Didn't get a chance to do some rapid rants on both Saturday and Sunday. Shows went late. I was frankly just spent after both nights of WrestleMania. So I just thought, why not just throw them together in a massive mega rant that we're going to be talking about everything from WrestleMania 39, both nights, all the details. We're going to take a deep, and I mean deep dive into this show and really get into the meat and potatoes of everything here and what a WrestleMania was. Before we get into the pageantry of this event, obviously today has been a huge day in WWE. Not only are we coming off of WrestleMania 39, not only are we coming off of I would call it a somewhat newsworthy but very unorthodox Raw after Mania, but we have the big news, which we'll talk about more on a top 10 takes tomorrow on Tuesday, and that is WWE is partnering up with the UFC to create a brand new company with both mega brands together as one combat sports company. Unbelievable. As we know more, we'll probably get into it a little more tomorrow with the details, but it appears to be that WWE is not really being technically sold, more as they're investing together with the UFC's assets, and they're forming a company together with both of their equity, from what I can gather. I don't know all the details about this. This just dropped today with some information. I'm going to really do some research into this tomorrow. We're going to have a historic top 10 takes about the WWE and the UFC joining forces as one endeavor, buying into WWE. As we move forward, it's going to be a completely different landscape in WWE down the road here. Most certainly in a couple months, things are going to be very interesting to see what happens. But that's another rant for tomorrow, where we're going to really talk about that extensively as more information comes out today about the big news dropped right after WrestleMania weekend. What I guess the home run on top of everything else, that WWE has found a buyer, and now instead they're partnering up with Endeavor/UFC to create a new company with UFC and WWE as the two anchor brands. Wow. So check that out tomorrow. Top 10 takes, where I am going to talk all about those breaking news with WWE. Moving into a whole new stratosphere with the UFC now. Wow, just unbelievable news. Let's get into the details from this tremendous WrestleMania. Wow, night one, what can you say about night one? Just a spectacular night of action. I would call it easily top 5 of the best WrestleMania single nights in history, no doubt. Night 2 did not live up to the hype of night 1, unfortunately, but it still was very solid. A lot of stuff coming out of that one. Just overall, the pageantry and the spectacle feel of this show, boy, did I want to be there. I'll just leave it at that. But it was something else that will be remembered as a really a tentpole WrestleMania probably moving forward. This really put the WrestleMania brand and everything that goes with it on a whole different level. The stage, the entrance set was elaborate, epic, absolutely, like, probably the best WrestleMania set that I have ever seen, and I think a lot of people would agree with that sentiment, that this was one of a kind on a production level. Just unbelievable. A lot of stats came down today, and I'm sure there'll be a lot more stats coming through later in the week that maybe we'll talk about, maybe on Friday or something like that, and I'll lay the rant down. But undoubtedly, the largest audience ever for a WrestleMania, between the higher subscriber count on Peacock and the general interest in this show, to pair with the live interest in this show. I mean, the ticket prices were through the roof. We'll talk about that in a moment. But all in all, for sure, the largest audience ever to witness, to watch a WrestleMania event. Now, we're not in the days of buy rates so much anymore. There's still people that get pay-per-views, but this is more on Peacock's side. I'm sure there'll be some stats that comes down on this, but I am almost certain that a couple million people watched WrestleMania, if not more. And that would certainly, when you think of buys, that would eclipse by far anything that the WWE has ever done. So no question about it, largest viewing audience in WrestleMania history. Sponsorship deals doubled this year. You probably noticed a lot of that. The Intuit tax replays, the Cinemoji Toast Crunch stuff, the Mike's Hard Lemonade stuff. These were all massive sponsorships that were ad placed in the show. There was a lot of this going on here. This is something that probably working with the UFC now, this is going to be more and more of this too. I think they've taken a cue a little bit from each other and getting sponsorship deals. And this is going to be interesting on the advertising side or the promotion side to see how the UFC and the WWE partner up here to make maybe this even a better, well, in their terms, a better part of their bottom line, the sponsorship stuff. I don't know from a consumer standpoint how good it is. Happen to see advertisement and advertisement upon ads on pay-per-views, but is what it is. Like I said, the sponsorships doubled this year. The total gate for 2 nights, WrestleMania 39, all-time record, 21.6 million. My God, that's just ticket sales. 161,892 is the tally from both days. Roughly 80,000 each day. They tallied night 2 a little more than night 1. I think night 2 had maybe 82,000 or 81,000. These are all WWE numbers. Keep in mind that WWE has a tendency to inflate the numbers. In fact, there was some reports about how they inflated the Rumble number by legitimately, I guess, asking arena officials to ask how many people are working, how many people could fit in a suite, even though there may not be that many people in a suite. So these are the kind of ways WWE inflates their numbers. I would still say, listening to some audio from certain people in the industry, that there was still a good 60 to 70,000 paid, somewhere in between that range for WrestleMania. The rest would have been comps or just inflated numbers in a sense. So this is still great numbers, even if WWE did nudge a little bit forward with the total. Still very impressive for both days. Merch sales, 20% increase from last year, which was already a record for WWE. So again, a huge success. Social media, over 500 million views tallied in various social media platforms. There's a lot of buzz coming out of this show too. I just saw it on social media myself. That just a lot of people were talking about WrestleMania and everything that was going down with it. The celebrity involvements, the big matches, the big spectacle of it all. It was an entire weekend. It was an entire week in LA once again that really was, really wish I would have been there. This was one of a kind legendary weekend for sure. Not just for WrestleMania, but just for pro wrestling in general. Let's get into some of the main points of the 2 nights of WrestleMania. I guess we can talk first about the celebrity involvements. We had Becky G and Jimmy Allen doing the national anthem, America the Beautiful, etc. both nights. Becky G did the first night, second night was Jimmy Allen. Kevin Hart had a video package to introduce both nights of WrestleMania that I thought was pretty well produced. I liked it. The hosts of WrestleMania was The Miz, as we knew, and they had this on posters, but they did not advertise this ahead of time. This was so weird. But Snoop Dogg was the co-host with The Miz, kind of something that they just really didn't promote ahead of time, but he was all over both nights of WrestleMania and basically saved a segment from going completely off the rails with Shane McMahon. Holy cow, that was something. We'll talk about that as we get into the night 2 rant. Also, Bad Bunny was involved. He did get involved in that Rey Mysterio match, as we know, and there was a big angle that went down on Monday Night Raw. I won't spoil it for anybody at this point, but check out Raw if you want to see where they're going. Things look pretty set for Backlash in San Juan, Puerto Rico, with Bad Bunny, Rey Mysterio, Damian Priest, and Dominic Mysterio. Probably in a big tag, I would think, or perhaps Bad Bunny against Damian Priest one-on-one. It's very well possible as well. Pat McAfee made the surprise return here. To a pretty big pop for sure. Didn't get leaked ahead of time. In fact, WWE was working on all of us. I think Nick Khan was even quoted as saying that Pat McAfee would not be even appearing, but he did in an impromptu match with The Miz. Night 2, the same thing kind of happened. There was a lot of parity on both nights, a lot of similar structure of booking and things like that, and layout formatting of the show and stuff. But night 2, we saw Shane McMahon show up as the surprise, I guess, opponent of Miz, and not more than 30 minutes, or 30, not 30 minutes, that's the main event, folks. 30 seconds into this segment, Shane McMahon, like father, like son, tears his quad, barely doing anything. He did a leapfrog and he tore his quads, folks, or one of his quads. This is harking back to Vince McMahon tearing both of his quads at one of the Royal Rumbles. I think it was 2005. So there you go. Very weird karma in the air tonight, at least for night 2 there with Shane McMahon. George Kittle also appeared with Pat McAfee. We'll talk about that in a little moment. Lil Uzi Vert, rapper, did Just Wanna Rock before the main event of night 1, which ended up being the tag title match. I think that was a good call, but damn, that women's match, we'll talk about that too. Just phenomenal stuff. So let's get into some of the main points from both shows. Like I said, the tag title match went on as the main of night 1. This was only the second time a tag title, or a tag match, that is done on WrestleMania. Of course, we know the first WrestleMania had a tag match as the main event with Hogan, Piper, etc., etc. This was the first time, obviously, that the tag titles were on the line in a WrestleMania main event, and possibly the only time. It'll be interesting to see if this ever happens again. It's very rare that we would see the tag title match big on the card here, much less as a main event of WrestleMania, but this was certainly well-deserved. How about the entrances at WrestleMania this year? Spectacular stuff from top to bottom. We'll talk about each of them as we go through the matches, but just that set, mixing with those entrances was just pure fucking magic on both nights of WrestleMania. New champions crowned, as we know. Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens did defeat the Usos. Rhea Ripley, in a fantastic match, did beat Charlotte Flair. And there was some retaining of the championships. On night 2, for example, Gunther, in a tremendous, awesome, spectacular performance against Sheamus and Drew McIntyre. What a match that was. He retained. And then, of course, Roman Reigns retained over Cody Rhodes. Holy cow. A lot of people were taken back by that information and that finish when it hit the WWE fan base exploded, definitely, for sure. So lots of controversy. We'll get into that match with Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes right now. One little stat. Roman Reigns, first ever WWF wrestler, WWE wrestler, to be able to defend the World Championship in 3 consecutive WrestleManias. Hogan has done this, but it was a different WrestleManias, not consecutively like this. So this was a first. The controversy for sure, though, you set up Cody the way you have, only to have him lose. Raw after Mania didn't do him any favors either, but I feel like he's still in the chase based on kind of stuff, particularly on Raw tonight. I don't know when, I don't know where. They could very well slow build this to SummerSlam. I guess time will tell. Triple H in the presser after WrestleMania was over in the press conference said that this is just the start of the story with Roman and Cody. So that's why I think that there maybe is a plan, maybe down around SummerSlam time, where we see Cody and Roman again in a big time rematch here. The match itself was phenomenal, I thought. It was well put together, had a lot of time. We'll talk about it near the end of this rant, but the finish got me. I did not like that finish at all. The finish was lame, uncreative, and just plain vanilla, I guess would be a good word for it. Injuries aplenty as well. I felt like night 2 was a bit snake bitten between the Shane McMahon injury. Shayna Baszler appeared to hurt herself in the second match. In the first match, Lesnar appeared to be hurt, but I think he just was selling. But he was really giving his back some work after that F5 to Omos. But I think it was just a sell. Looking back at it now and seeing how he acted tonight on Raw as well. As far as other injuries, the stuff with Finn Balor and Edge in the Hell in the Cell, are you kidding me? Finn Balor cut his forehead to the point of, I saw a photo of it, and it was gruesome. Many, many stitches, probably staples in his head. I can't believe he worked through that, and kudos to Finn, man. Yeah, that was a vicious, vicious shot from the ladder that busted him up right up in here and just split him open. So it was quite amazing that he was able to keep going. From reports, it appears that maybe there was a little bit of an effort to rush the finish after that injury happened with Balor. As you know, they stopped the match and everything. So it's a pretty serious situation. So that night, too, was just snake bitten a little bit with injuries. I felt like up and down the card a little bit on that one. All right, we've covered a little bit of everything so far. Let's get into the matches themselves, star ratings, thoughts, etc. Night 1, let's get into it. Kevin Hart with the cool intro. I really got into it. The Miz and Snoop stuff was, I felt like a little filler on some levels, but it was still entertaining enough. I just was so flabbergasted why they did not announce ahead of time that Snoop was going to be a co-host with The Miz. I don't get that. That is a really, really fucking weird thing. All right, so now we get into the matches themselves. Match 1 to kick off Mania, as announced, was Austin Theory and John Cena. And Austin Theory did, in fact, go over at 11 minutes, 20 seconds of a 3-star match. By the way, look online. Every match now has been announced. Different road agents and things like that for each of these matches. So if you're interested in that, it is online. I should have added that to these lists here. But they have announced there's about 5 or 6 different producers for WWE. Michael Hayes, P.E. Williams, Chris Park-Abyss, Jamie Noble, Tyson Kidd, Adam Pearce. I don't know if I'm missing anybody, but I think that's the crew generally. And they all had their hand in each individual match. Both nights of WrestleMania, basically a road agent had responsibility match per night. So, for instance, Adam Pearce did, I believe, do the Theory and Cena match. Now, this match, work rate-wise, was a bit of a disappointment. It felt very standard. It felt very generic John Cena standard match. I suppose this is as a caveat to Cena. He doesn't want to get injured. He doesn't want to take many risks. So he's going to do his standard match. And that's what this felt like. With a little twist at the end. Ref goes down. We'll blow Austin Theory. gets the A-Town down for the win. It felt a little disingenuous, a little bit like not really a star-making performance here, as I think the company was maybe even hoping for. Something just was missing here, and I think it was just the standard formulaic part of this match, the structure of it. It was just too formulaic. Just didn't hit those tones it really should have. All right, match 2, however, I think was probably one of those more surprising matches of both nights in the quality of it. I went 3 3/4, but I would even argue this could be a little bit of a high end of that rating. Street Profits in an 8-minute, 29-second match over Ricochet, Braun Strowman, Viking Raiders, and Alpha Academy. Yeah, this was really well laid out. I think Tyson Kidd had a hand in this one. Damn, this was really like full of high spots galore. The finish was great. This was way better than I thought it'd be, for sure. I thought this was going to be an absolute throwaway match. It was far from it. Really good stuff. Match number 3, Seth Rollins and Logan Paul. This one delivered like a motherfucker. The entrances also were excellent. I gotta mention Cena's entrance too with the Make a Wish kids. That was very cool. I liked the Fury entrance as well. They didn't really have any special entrances for the tag match, but this match for sure had some very interesting entrances. The zipline entrance from Logan Paul, taking a cue from Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 12, also another Southern California Mania. So that was very cool. And then Jasper Randall, a music composer, came out to kind of lead the crowd in the Seth Rollins chant, or Seth Rollins vocals, I guess you could call it. And so that was a very cool entrance as well. I thought very well done. And this match was just laid out tremendously. Very athletic match. This fit for Logan Paul is a shame because he's just starting to hit his stride. After only 3 to 4 big matches in WWE, man, he has come a long way in a short time. I gave this 4.5 or 4 1/4, excuse me. Curb stomp to the finish, 16 minutes, 16 seconds. The stuff with KSI, rapper KS, or a boxer, excuse me, KSI, who's associated with Logan Paul. He was in a mascot prime bottle outfit. That spot on the table, good Lord have mercy. That was something else. So at this point, this show is like really hitting a good stride here. Match 4, Trish, Lita, and Becky over Damage Control. I went 3 1/4 at a 14-minute, 35-second match. The one thing I could say about this match was it was deterred by Lita. Lita was slowing down this match. I don't get it, but she was definitely having troubles keeping up with the pace of this match. And that was just a really unfortunate thing, but yeah, it was a thing for sure. The finish ended up being Becky giving a manhandle slam from the middle rope to Bayley for the finish. Right before that, Lita did a moonsault on both members of Damage Control, Io Shirai and Dakota Kai. So a little bit disappointing because of the Lita factor, but overall a very still entertaining match for sure. Bad Bunny comes out to announce coming up for the next part here. Again, elaborate entrances for Dominic Mysterio and Rey. I liked the spot with Dominic having a Rey Mysterio mask on, and just that whole portrayal of the jail thing with him is just hilarious. Also to note, this was the Cinnamon Toast Crunch match. So they had Cinnamon Toast Crunch logos everywhere and shit. They had a mascot out there, a Cinnamon Toast Crunch mascot. That actually was Sol Ruca of NXT, if you were wondering, I guess. And this match, from a storyline perspective, was so much fun. At 4 stars, I went with it. 14 and a half minutes of just great drama. Lots of up and down stuff in the finish of the match with Bad Bunny getting involved. And boy, the crowd was just in this match like crazy. This was well worth the wait, as long as it's been for us to wait for this match. It was worth it. This was so good. I almost thought Dominic should have went over in this match because this is just the start of the feud, but boy, it sure sent the crowd in a frenzy when Rey Mysterio beat Dominic. Here's an interesting stat about the next match. This was Rhea Ripley and Charlotte for the SmackDown Women's Championship, which I think was probably the best match of both nights. This match was so good. One thing to note, this was the first time in WrestleMania history that we had a woman announcer, a woman referee, and 2 women competitors in a, what I would call a main event spot, and they worked it like a main event. Let me tell you, this was so good. 2 minutes, 34 seconds. I gotta give Charlotte credit. She was bumping everywhere. She took that one bump, landed right on her head. But you gotta give it to her. She made Ripley look great. Ripley carried that ball all the way to the finish line as well. Just a win-win here. I thought Charlotte looked good. Ripley got her moment. The crowd was, of course, all behind Rhea Ripley by the end of this match, and wow, just awesome stuff. This was probably the best match of both nights. I'll talk about it near the end of this rant, which I felt was really right up there. But there was another one that was right at this level, and that was the next match. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens against the Usos as the main event of the first night of Mania at 4.5 stars as well. Damn, this was so good. Have to make note, right before this, they did do the Pat McAfee and Miz stuff. I forgot to talk about that and touch upon that. I did 2 3/4 star. It was considered a match in about 3.5 minutes. George Kittle got involved from the San Francisco 49ers. It's very much just to throw it out there. It was what it was. But it did lead into the main event, which, like I said, was an awesome main event. So many good moments on this one. So many great near falls. Crowd was electric for the finish. Zayn and Owens. Man, the PWG bringing that story back full force. So good. So good. Loved it. 4.5 stars. What a finish to night 1. Let's get through night 2 real quick. Similar start. Kevin Hart again. Snoop and Miz introducing the first match. Now this card just didn't flow as well as night 1. No question about it. Lesnar over Omos in the main opener. Almost 5 minutes. I went 3 stars. I guess it was laid out fine, but it just seemed I could never have gotten into this match from the get-go, and it was nothing different here, but for what it was, I went 3 stars. It was a little bit above average. Rousey and Baszler won the next match, which was, I would call it average at best. It was an 8-minute multi-woman tag. Liv Morgan, Rodriguez, DeVille, and Chelsea Green, Natalya and Shotzi. Baszler appeared to get hurt. That rushed the finish as well. Rousey made Shotzi tap out. This was just very much like, what? This is so weird. This was one of my least favorite WrestleMania matches of this weekend, for sure. Lashley made an appearance. I thought he was doing an open challenge that was announced on social media. Instead, he just came out, said hi to the crowd with his trophy, and that was about it. Very, very weird. I feel like Vince McMahon had his fingerprints all over night 2, for what it's worth. Mike's Hard Lemonade sponsored the next match. Gunther and Drew McIntyre and Sheamus. This might have been the best match of WrestleMania both nights as well. This was fucking great at 4.5 stars. 16:36 on the time. Physical. Probably better than Sheamus and Gunther at Clash at the Castle. Just saying. Not by much, but it was that damn good. Great entrances for Bianca Belair and Asuka. One thing to note. One of the little gals, the contortionist gal, her mother actually died that day. So, wow, what a special moment for her to be able to do this. And, what a way to kind of mourn the loss of a mother by being on the stage of WrestleMania as a really young girl. Pretty amazing stuff. The match itself, 3 3/4, 15:57 time. I thought Asuka should have went over. I thought the time was now to give it to Asuka. My thoughts. In fact, I thought the next 3 matches here, this match, as well as, quite frankly, even the triple threat, I thought Sheamus should have went over. That was my one contention with that match. My contention with the women's title match here was Asuka should have went over. The match was building in that manner. Then we got to Shane McMahon, The Miz, and Snoop Dogg. What a mess. Shane gets hurt right away, tears his quad. Snoop Dogg improvises and finishes the match for Shane. Can you believe it? I was shocked. I was fucking shocked. I was also shocked by Russell Crowe introducing the Hell in a Cell match via some co-promotion of the fucking Pope's Exorcist or whatever the hell that movie's called coming up. Phenomenal entrances by Edge and Balor for the Hell in a Cell as well. I wish they would have done it later on the card because the Nightfall wasn't there yet in the arena and the stadium. That kind of ruined the illusion of what was going on a little bit. Also, where the fuck was Gangrel? I thought he was supposed to be at this show. He was nowhere to be seen. What the hell? As it were, I went 4 stars on the Hell in a Cell. Like I said, that stuff with Balor was wild. The South of Heaven song by Slayer, by Edge too. Awesome, awesome stuff. 1808 was the time on this Hell in a Cell. Word was because of the Balor injury, they tried to kind of rush some spots and rush the finish. So it probably would have been a little bit longer originally. Concerto for the finish on this one. Got a lot of dead air time to lead to the main event, which was an absolute 4-star, I would call a notably strong WrestleMania main event. I don't think it was as strong as the tag title match from night one for sure. The finish certainly hurt it with Solo Sikoa doing his thing again. I just couldn't get into that. 35 minutes, 27 seconds, 4 stars, similar to the Hell in a Cell. I would have went with Cody in this position. I think it's counterproductive to keep things rolling as it is here. They got to do something with this Roman Reigns situation. At least take one of the titles off him or something. Something has to give here. But the crux of this match was excellent. That finish just completely ruined it for me, though, big time. So, closing out, what was the best match of WrestleMania? You got Rhea Ripley and Charlotte. You got Gunther, Sheamus, and McIntyre. I think those are my 2. I don't even know which one I'd pick as my favorite. I think I'd slightly go with maybe Gunther and Sheamus and McIntyre, but boy, it's a toss-up. Then you can even throw in the tag title match in there. I felt those were all 4.5-star matches. So that combination of 3 of those were my top favorites. Night 1 encompassed was so much better than Night 2. Not even a question. Night 1, I'd give an A fucking plus for that show. Night 2, however, I think I'm going to go about a B on Night 2. It just wasn't as flowing and coherent as that first one. And it just didn't hold the candle to it, unfortunately. So, is what it is. What it was, though, was a phenomenal WrestleMania weekend with